Welcome into another edition of Betting Above the Rim right here on SportsGrid. College basketball today. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm with Joe Lisi and Coach James Young as we are getting closer and closer to the official unveiling of the March Madness brackets. When that happens, you'll have Coach and Ben Stevens with you. In the lead up to that, there'll be some Big Ten in-game live, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, fellas. We have a lot of basketball to break down on this Saturday. Finals in the Big East, in the Big 12, and the ACC, which will not feature arguably the country's best player in Cooper Flagg, the semis in the Big Ten and the SEC, and so much movement in the markets, reactions, and seed lines being determined, Coach, on these last couple of days of conference tournament action.
Yeah, it's a fun time, and we talked about when I was on a couple of weeks ago about playing your best. It's also about being healthy, and obviously, Duke, a team that I thought could have snuck into the number one seed, well, that ticket has sailed now that has happened, but it's definitely one of those cases where you want to play your best basketball. Some of these teams we talked about in the past, maybe getting that bad game out of their system, but Joe, it's a fun day, a lot of great teams jockeying for positions for their seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, March Madness started. You gamble and bet on some of these games, go right down to the wire. Look at the A-10 game last night, overtime. We saw a number of different close matchups, no matter how close they or blowouts they were, in particular Tennessee, right? From the spread perspective, these games went right down to the wire. Outside of the domination of Alabama over Kentucky last night, they've been close games, and I think Coach is right when you just look at, getting a bad game out of the system, right? Mm-hmm. Was that what we saw yesterday out of Auburn? They had lost 2 straight heading into yesterday. They get a gutty blue-collar win. Wasn't their best effort. They didn't shoot very well, but they grind out a victory over Ole Miss. And, we saw Tennessee bounce back. We saw Michigan with a bounce-back effort, right, to knock out Purdue. So I think when you see it now is where teams can separate themselves, right? Louisville has an opportunity today. We see also Florida maybe potentially being and making the stake, Kev, for being the best team in the SEC. We'll see how these games play out in just a couple of hours.
Yeah, I think, of course, there's a lot to be determined on the one line. I think the number 1 overall seed is in play for Duke. I actually think that if they win the ACC without Cooper Flagg, that could up their standing even more. They likely would need some help, though, having Auburn not finish out winning this SEC tournament, who are just now in the semifinal. They'll play Tennessee today. The game between Florida and Alabama that you mentioned, Joe, very well could determine who gets the final number 1 seed, with Bama yesterday once again rolling Kentucky. The Crimson Tide likely would need to beat not only Florida, but win this SEC tournament to grab that final number 1 spot, but it is certainly on the board. To also just quickly acknowledge, it's not just the top, right? There's a lot of different angles. We have the Mountain West, which we know is always a very good mid-major, right? It's sometimes you see it viewed as the 6th big conference within this sport. Boise State needed a run. Colorado State needed a run. They go head-to-head for a guaranteed spot in the Big Dance. The Big West, I know it's way off the beaten path. UC San Diego's been awesome this year. Well, so is UC Irvine, and all of a sudden people are wondering if we see an upset in the Big West. Could we get a 2-bid league all of the sudden? This is where we are at right now, Coach, where on the perimeters, those Cinderellas, those upsets, those teams are starting to solidify their position.
Yeah, and if you're in that bubble, you're getting nervous.
Yes.
Because the bid stealers are coming. You can look at another league and look at a team like VCU, who should be in the tournament regardless if they win the A-10. Well, what happens if they trip up versus Loyola Chicago? What about another team, St. Joe's, that someone is big on right now on this test? That wouldn't be me. That is big on right now in regards to, could they win? So you as a coach, and you're on that line where you're Carolina, you're Texas, you're San Diego State, you're a bunch of these teams that are on the bubble. You are not only watching what's going on in your league, you're looking at these other leagues where a bid stealer could knock you out of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely, and he brings up 2 points in terms of Loyola of Chicago. Gutty win over St. Louis yesterday, starting to show and bounce back into form. They've won, I believe, 9 of the last 10, and if they knock off VCU, that could potentially steal a spot from maybe one of these bubble teams. And you talk about North Carolina had everything in front of them yesterday, right? They fall behind by 21 points at half. They make a miraculous second half effort to get within striking distance, potentially steal it against a top-ranked team in terms of Duke. And unfortunate lane violation, they lose. What does that do to their chances now? I mean, if you're looking at that, I believe North Carolina, based off of how they played, based off the body of work off the last month and a half of the season, I would pick them, even though they don't have the quality wins maybe as Texas has had on the resume. I would take them over the Longhorns, Kev.
You would take North Carolina.
I would.
I struggle with UNC, and I think this is something that we will be getting into. But we can get into it now, if anything. They've had 12 opportunities in Quad 1 and left with 1 victory. I understand that it is a tough break that they didn't get to host either Louisville or Clemson because North Carolina clearly was never good enough to hang with the Dukes of the world. And had they been able to bring either Louisville or Clemson into their building, that would have been a Quad 1 victory. And, you know, with the way college works this year, getting someone in your home court's great. But they had so many opportunities. You look at the out-of-conference, you go, well, Maui was tough. Okay, they nearly were beaten by Dayton. There was a huge comeback in order to get that victory. They didn't beat Auburn. They lose to Michigan State in overtime. Win in overtime. Oh, UCLA game was super close. Win. Oh, the Florida game. Florida's so good. Win. Yeah. It was the Jumpman Classic, okay? Not the Chomp Chomp Classic. Wait, it's right in your backyard. Put the result. Bama's so good. Okay, then they're not. It's for me, listen, they've had countless opportunities. We saw the game, and I'm someone who bet that team to win the ACC tournament because I thought they had a legitimate chance to beat Duke well before the Cooper Flag injury. And you go, oh, they were right there. Don't be down 24 points in that game.
And I think that's the big thing. If you're in North Carolina, and we talk about playing your best basketball, see, they can't get you on the quad victories. They got to get you on the eye test. And you have the number 1 player in the country who's out for the game, and you're down 24 points or something like that in the first half? That's inexcusable. Listen, I like the comeback. And as a coach, I know exactly what they were trying to run. They were trying to run an X play where the one player goes, dives across the floor and you loop the other guy around. But at the end of the day, Kev, you can't be down that big in the first half.
No.
You can't live off the quadrants. You have to live off the eye test.
I'm sorry, but clearly, I think had they started the game hot and jumped on Duke, they would have ran away with it there. The ACC tournament game is next because we have to talk about just the conference, no Cooper Flag, and all of that there. But they obviously had that momentum, Lisi, where had they started hot, I don't think they would have fallen apart. And, I mean, R.J. Davis has been there for a decade.
I know.
Show up.
He had 8 points last night.
Show up.
That was terrible. I agree with you in that aspect, that they should have taken the game to Duke because Cooper Flag was out, right? You have the opportunity to knock out the champ, you do it. Now, maybe they just didn't get into a rhythm, but they did make a second-half comeback. But you look at the games down the stretch in the ACC. I think here's the thing. Are you telling me Texas has a better resume? If you're telling me Texas has a better resume, this is where then the argument becomes, because they've lost how many games? They've lost 8 games over the last month and a half of the regular season. They're 6-12 in the SEC. They lost to teams like South Carolina that didn't only have 1 SEC win at the time. Arkansas as well. The losses at the end of the regular season are atrocious for the Longhorns.
The value for Texas, though, is having played in the SEC, and they're able to pick up victories like Kentucky and Texas A&M that we just never saw North Carolina able to grab. We'll get to the ACC championship game next.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid, and tonight we will see the ACC Conference Championship game being played between Duke and Louisville. Should be no surprise. Should really be no controversy around this game. Duke, big favorite. Louisville, great season. Should be a fun one. It would take an incredible effort for Louisville to pull off the upset. Instead, Cooper Flagg's absence is the story. So we will get into a number that is climbing a little bit on Duke from 5.5 up to 6.5. But Flagg's absence came at a time when this team in Duke were really struggling against Georgia Tech in their opening game of this conference tournament. They were able to turn it around, found their stroke from deep against Tech, and won that game. Not going away. I mean, certainly not anywhere flirting with covering as a 22.5-point favorite. But it wasn't a situation where the final possession, the ball was in Georgia Tech's hands. Like, oh, here we go. That was the case against North Carolina. But initially, it was not. So the question for Duke now, because the only timeline we really have on Flagg is he won't play tonight. When do the Blue Devils need Cooper Flagg back? And that, to me, Coach, is where I want to start with a team that still finds themselves largely co-favorites in a lot of spots. The expectation is Flagg will be back. What is your assessment right now around this situation?
Well, you got to take it easy with Angle. And how high he was in the air when he came down was flat out scary as a coach. So angles can be tough, folks. And I think Jon Scheyer did the right thing. He played the long game. Right, because at the end of the day, Kev, their spot as a number one seed was secured going into the tournament. So what do you do if you're Jon Scheyer? You talk to the medical staff. He's training. I'm sure he's getting treatment around the clock. They probably have some of the best trainers in the country. If I'm Scheyer, I'm sitting him through the round of 32. I got to get him. I got to get him through another week. Luckily, they play thinking, I'm not if it's Greensboro, but they're relatively close. They're going to be the first two rounds of the tournament. Right. So you're not worrying about flying an elevation and an ankle blowing back up. I think you take your time. I think you look to give him another week off, get him through the round of 32. Then you're probably looking at Thursday or Friday. You're playing next, and then you have about 2 to 3 days of practice to ramp up, Jeff, to get them ready for the Sweet 16.
I was going to say Sweet 16. I think from the gambling perspective, you look at them in terms of the Final Four, minus 145. I'm not making that bet right now, Kev, just because of the uncertainty of Cooper Flag. I think the biggest thing when you saw yesterday for me is that, you lose your star player, and you're right, they came out a little bit flat against Georgia Tech, but up until that point, they had won, 7 straight games by 33.5 points per game. Maybe they did take G-Tech a little lightly in terms of the first round. It's possible, but we saw a better perspective about what Cooper Flag means to that offense. The consistency wasn't there from start to finish, right? And that's the biggest thing. If you're looking big picture on Duke, do I want to risk the number at minus 145 or whatever they are once they put up the Sweet 16 odds on the Duke Blue Devils? I would rather wait and see, because even if he comes back, to Coach's point, the ankle is such a tricky type of injury. He cuts off that. In terms of how you use it in basketball, this is a little bit different than football, where you could just tape it up and you're going in a straight line. Basketball, you're up and down the court jumping. You always have the ability to potentially land on that ankle in a different type of way and injure it again. So I'm a little hesitant at minus 145. I'd be hesitant big picture on Duke. I think when you look at this game, though, I think it does benefit the Blue Devils up against Louisville in the sense they do now have one game without Cooper Flag in that lineup. Maybe it was a feeling out process. We should see a better, more consistent effort against the Cardinals tonight.
And one thing really quick, I want people to understand as a coach, injuries impact with the ankle differently for perimeter players than post players, right? Because of the way that Cooper Flag is used in different actions and coming off screens and playing different ways, to me, I think it's easier to come back as a big who doesn't have to do a lot of quick cutting. It's usually in the post. Everything's kind of close to the basket as regards to reverse pivoting, catching, jabbing. A lot of that stuff is really hard in an ankle. So I think Joe's right. I think you wait for matchups. You look to see where they're placed and how they go about where you go to bet it, because, listen, what happens if, maybe John Shire may panic and see what happens if a Gonzaga is an 8 seed in their region? Do you try and get them back a game earlier?
So how I see it is they obviously will not be playing him tonight, and their first game will be against the 16 seed. There was nothing that was going to happen in this tournament that was going to knock them off the one line. The question is, could they be number one overall? But they're going to be playing a 16 seed. And this Duke team is far too talented to lose to a 16. But I don't think John Shire could go, okay, if it's Gonzaga, if it's UConn, Coop, need you for 35. But if it's VCU, just, grab a Mai Tai and watch Con Knipple cook. That's just not how this works. He's either ready to go or he's not by the time we get to the round of 32. I think it's on the board. If Cooper is ready, they'll let him play in the round of 64. More limited, right? Be smart about it. Give him that, just get any jitters out, potentially, because he still is, 18 years old, right? So maybe you don't want to have his first tournament game all of a sudden be the round of 32. Just go out there and, a little run out against a SWAC team, whatever it might be. What I think becomes interesting is if Cooper Flag cannot go up against the round of 32 opponent, it does not mean to me that they are done. But it also just makes me wonder if they get to the Sweet 16, are we even sure he's back at that point? Because of what you said, Coach, and then we're going to get, into just quickly the Wooden Award and then our picks for Duke Louisville. The injury was so scary looking. To me, an ankle sprain, I was like, oh, he got the best of it. Like, it looked like, he was on the wheelchair, and I'm sure that was precautionary. I was like, oh, he maybe just played his last minutes in a Duke jersey. Now, that is, probably more so unlikely at this moment, but this team, make no bones about it, without Cooper Flag, is not the best team in the country. Nobody would make that argument, so it makes a big difference. We'll talk about the Wooden Award and this ACC championship game. What's the right side? We'll let you know next.
which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you're giving like the any given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh, yeah, I think we've been there. We're going to have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid. Betting above the rim, Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, Coach James Young, college basketball today edition. I'll quickly want to hit the Wooden Award because, again, this is very important, the Cooper Flagg injury, and then we'll get into today's game. Flagg down to a minus 155 price. Janai Broome at plus 120. It has been back and forth between these two players. Flagg has played his final game before voters are going to make their move. I think they have actually up until the first round of the tournament to decide. I don't know how many voters are still undecided. I think is one of the fascinating things about the consistent movement that we see. But I'll go to you first, Lisi, right now. Do you feel like Flagg, who was a considerable favorite, has now opened the door for Janai Broome to win this award?
I think so. I think, especially if Auburn could win the SEC and Broome steps up with a dynamic performance. I believe he had 23 points the other day in the victory over Ole Miss. If we get that type of effort, against the likes of Tennessee and the winner of Florida, Alabama, I think Broome could steal it in terms of that capacity. We talked about the inconsistency about Auburn. Back-to-back losses didn't help to Alabama and Texas A&M. They got the one game out of their belt, and they're going to face top 10 competition right now where Cooper Flagg's on the sidelines. We talk about how maybe mediocre the ACC was, coach, from top to bottom. That's not the case with the SEC. If Broome steps up with, let's say, 20-plus performances, I think he could steal it over the next couple of games.
See, I'm going to take the other side of it. What happens if Duke loses today to Louisville? Because there's so much that Cooper Flagg means to this team.
Yeah.
Leads in points, leads in rebounds, leads in assists, leads in blocks, leads in steals, top defender, right? Shoots 83% from the free throw line. So to me, it's more about how does Duke look? If you look at the game against Carolina, didn't score the ball much in that regular season finale, but a couple of huge blocks in the second half. Best defender, arguably one of the best defenders in the country. I think the injury to Flagg and the way how Duke plays is going to help actually benefit Cooper when it comes to the Player of the Year award.
So I think that if Auburn wins the SEC tournament, it's Janai Broome's because he's back. His last few games have been playing very well. I don't think they're winning the SEC tournament if he's not playing well, but I also don't think they're winning the SEC tournament. We'll get into that in a bit. Duke, Louisville. Let me just say this. When you're trying to operate some spread math, but you have to then factor in Cooper Flagg not being there, it gets a little tricky. I do look at yesterday's line, though. which we saw, I think, at one point 8.5, come down 6.5, and I believe land 7.5 between the Blue Devils and the Tar Heels. For Louisville, this line is between 5.5 and 6.5 at certain shops. And Louisville is certainly better than North Carolina. How much better becomes the question. I think, though, the reason this number is not 4.5, 4, I feel as if the odds makers have, one, factored in Duke is Duke, and there's always a level of betting that'll come with that, Coach, but also, just because it ended as a close 3-point game doesn't mean that's what we saw throughout its entirety. At this moment, at 5.5, I think I like Duke to win this game and cover this game.
See, to me, it's going to be about how Pat Kelsey plays this game, right? They played earlier in the year, 76-65 at the Yum Center. They were up 4 at the break. They're going to have to slow this game down, and I think that's the key. The game's going to be about tempo and pace. Now, the good thing for Louisville is Duke's one of the slowest teams in the country to begin with, and with injuries, they're going to want to play the game slower. So if you're Pat Kelsey, you play this game close to the vest, and you try to make this a half-court game and hope that you have enough plays left. My best bet at the end of the show is actually going to be coming from this game. I think this game is going to be extremely close. When you look at 5.5, 4.5, 5.5, now you're talking about the foul game. We're talking about the end of the game, fouls, free throws. Do you trust Louisville to be a little bit closer, Joe, to try and cover the spread?
Yeah, I'm with Kevin. I think when you look at it, two of the hottest teams in the country, Duke has won 10 straight by 24.7 points per game. On the flip side, Louisville has won 11 straight by an average margin of victory of 12.9 points per game. And I think when you just look at the perception is like Duke should have lost yesterday. Oh, I'll take Louisville plus the 5.5. A lot of the tickets are on Louisville entering this matchup in the area of about 63%. To me, that's a divergence. We're seeing 5.5s go up to 6.5s. I would lay it with Duke. The one bad game is out. But keep an eye out for Louisville. Terrence Edwards, last 5, 24 points per game. He had 21 yesterday. He could step up.
I'm really hoping they post a Con Knippel points, rebounds, and assist prop there because he has to become a do-it-all kind of guy for Duke in the absence of Cooper Flagg. And I would say this, for those who care about the NBA draft, stock up after the last 60 minutes of hoop he's played for the Blue Devils. We'll be right back here. SEC Tournament is next.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you're giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh, yeah, I think we've been there. We're going to have a long talk with Rob today about the 99, 199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Grant Nelson's getting staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the 4th number 1 seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, 2nd overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 tonight.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
SEC time here on this Saturday. We begin with 2 top 10 teams in the country and the 1 versus 4 in the SEC tournament. It is the Auburn Tigers and the Tennessee Volunteers, a spread that has been on the climb overnight as Auburn money and over money has been hitting 3.5s up to 4.5s, and I think some 5.5s starting to pop as well. Late night, 137.5 we saw this listed total, up to 140.5 now across all books. For those that don't know, Tennessee's my last hope on the Take 5. Apparently should have just went out there, wrote the word chalk, and moved on with a lot of way these conference tournaments played out at the upper echelon here. I believe that Tennessee has a very, very real chance to win this game. What's almost made me more concerned, and I know this might, but Auburn played so poorly overall against Ole Miss off of consecutive losses to close the regular season. For Tennessee to win again, we then have to really wonder about where Auburn is at relative to what they have been throughout this year. And while I think Tennessee can win this game, am I overreacting to say, Joe, that if Auburn loses this one, there's got to be a level of panic around the Tigers?
No, I'm with you. And we talk about, dominating in terms of the regular season up until a couple of weeks, about a week ago. They had won 20 of the last 22 games. And then you have back-to-back losses against top 10 opponents in terms of Texas. Well, Texas A&M was top 25. They lose to Texas A&M, and then they lose in overtime to Bama by 2. But then you're starting to search for an identity, right? Broome was hot and cold during that span. It's like they came out, they let their guard down, and then all of a sudden we're just walking through the motions, right? They got the bad game out of their system. To your point, you look at yesterday, shot 45% from the field, 28 from three-point range. You need a better effort against Tennessee today to pick up the victory and get the cover. So I'm with you. I like Auburn today, right? But they're playing a hot team in Tennessee that's won 6 of the last 7, coached by 7.1 points per game. I like Auburn, but if they do, in fact, lose this game, I then have concerns big picture about them being the best team in the country and them having a confidence level heading into March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about getting your ugly games out of your system, but when you have a bunch of ugly games in a row, then you start to panic a little bit because you're waiting for that bounce back. And I just think Rick Barnes' team is a hard team to go ahead and do this from. If you look at the metric, you look at KenPom, the way that these teams are, 3 versus 12 in adjusted defense. You look at 12 versus 1 in effective field goal percentage defense. You look at the fact that neither team is really, in regards to pace. You look at the fact that I know no Deni Broome first game, 53-51 early in the year. This game has a rock fight written all over it. I know the number's climbing, but as a coach, I'm going the other way. I think this game is going to be really tight. I don't think either team gets away from each other. And I think it's going to be a slow-down, half-court game because I think Rick Barnes knows that's the way he's got to play it. And I think, honestly, if you look at the way they've played offensively, if you are, you're not going to want to run too much of your Auburn and your Bruce Pearl. So I think this game settles itself into the half-court.
I think for me, I'm very interested. So, I wish I bet the 137.5 last night. That would have done nothing for our audience, though, in a way. So I guess I'm glad I didn't. I look at the over from just the total perspective here. This number has moved probably way too much off of the recent Auburn struggles. I think I may settle in on a Tennessee team total. As somebody who, again, bet the Vols to win the SEC, I think they can get this game. I think if you're Auburn and you're struggling on the offensive side of the basketball, the last thing you were looking to see is Tennessee. That's not a get-right spot by hey, where's Bama? Let's just run up and down the court and score 95 and see who has the ball last kind of thing. I think I'll likely settle in on that Tennessee team total. Speaking of Bama, Florida. Man, this is awesome. Again, let me just, with respect to the tournament, it's on the board that the SEC Conference Tournament Final Four is better than the Final Four that we actually get in April when the time comes. Gators are 3.5-point favorites against the Crimson Tide. I see this game, and I ask myself, again? You want to fade the Gators again? Yeah. I like Bama. I think this is a Bama spot. I thought Kentucky would be tricky for them. Nope. They own the Wildcats this season. They scored 99 points on average in 3 games against Kentucky. Florida is playing fantastic. This is in no way a shot at Florida. It's just if Bama was going to get the chance to get the win back, Joe, I felt they would be able to. The chance is right there.
It is, and they might get it, but I'm going the other way. And I know,
zigzag, Lisi, okay. All right.
I love the way Florida's playing. Outside the loss on the road about a week and a half ago to Georgia, they've been one of the hottest teams in the nation. They've won 4 straight by an average margin of victory of 14.2 points per game. This is going to be a high-scoring affair, right? We saw 174.5. That's down 5 points from last night's total of 179.5 with Alabama and Kentucky. Last time they played, they were in the 90s, right? 185, 190 they got to in terms of that matchup. I just believe right now, from what I've saw, Florida's playing more consistent. You know, Alabama has won 4 of the last 6. They live and die with the 3. But Walter Clayton and that offense, to me, can score on anybody. And I like the way they play defense. The way they contained Missouri in the second half yesterday was impressive. I just think they're a more complete team. And Kev and Coach, I got to be honest, they get this victory today. I think they're right now playing as the best team in the SEC. I mean, I would make the argument they get the victory over Bama a second time in a week.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that right now they're playing much better than Auburn is.
Well, I look at this game and I say whoever wins this game may get that last 1 seed. I mean, there's distinct possibility that this game is going to be a 1 seed game. And to me, this may sound crazy. What I've been most impressed with, I know even though they gave up 91 points to Auburn, is I think Alabama's defense has been better as of late. I think they're settling in the half court. I think they are not shooting the 3 as much. Yeah. I've seen more pull-up and going inside. I like it even with last week against Chennai Broome. They threw it to Grant Nelson. They backed him in. They backed him in. Amori's been a beast on the boards and being the rim protector that they need. To me, I liked Alabama going into this tournament, and I'm not coming off of it. I like Alabama outright to get the win.
I just want to say the market has moved. When we did the show last week, right, Florida was 12-1 to win the Natty. They're down 7-1.
Yeah.
They get this victory today over Alabama, and potentially they win the SEC. They're going to be right there in terms of the Auburn price, plus 350 with Duke.
Let me. No. I'm going to say. I want to. This is going to sound. I think Florida's resume is incredible, and if they were the 3rd overall seed in front of Houston, that is fine. Florida is the exact reason why every single time any book ends up giving me a no sweat, I make it ridiculous, lose it, and go, thanks, there's another Houston ticket. Listen, I've been tiptoeing around this for a while. I know we're doing SEC.
Let it out.
Houston is the best team in this country. They are winning the championship this year. It has never been Kelvin Sampson's time like it is right now because they are the best defense in college basketball with respect to Ricky White's suit, and now they are loaded with shooters. Manny Sharp was like, thanks, LJ, for holding it down. Milos Uzan, you got juice, kid, but clear out. I got this. They are unbelievable. BYU, we're the best offensive club.
Yeah.
This Richie Saunders,
750.
nowhere.
They were the preseason favorites at 9-1. It is March 15th, and they're plus 750.
Makes no sense.
Auburn is basically picked to win the title, and Chennai Broome doesn't know if he's coming or going. Cooper Flagg might be out for the year, and they're picked to make the Final Four. And they're like, I'm not sure about Houston.
Keep preaching.
Cougars, Big Ten, that's next.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. we're going to have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 tonight.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Betting above the rim, Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young.
Who's this guy?
Lisi made the cut as well.
That's it. Not even in the credits. That's it. Holy cow. That's it. How about a credit? How about a tweet?
You made the tweet today.
Oh, I made the tweet today.
You made the tweet today.
That's all right.
All right, so we went through.
Heck, I wasn't even in the credits of my own show on Wednesday. Took a night off. That's it. No credits.
Carver and Carver?
Carver and Carver. Going into business for himself.
Rounding again. All right, so here's the deal, man. We went through the SEC. We will re-rack all of these games here, but we want to get over to the Big Ten today where, oh, man. This is going to sound like sour grapes. I know. I don't really care. That Wisconsin performance is the luck box performance of the season against UCLA. They shot 42% from two and 60% from three.
Yeah, 61%. But I think it's more of a testament to how bad Mick Cronin and UCLA have been.
Okay, you maybe don't like. I don't think they've been that bad. I think UCLA.
The Minnesota game at home and how they blew some of those games. Purdue down the stretch, gutless.
They covered that game out of nowhere against Purdue.
No,
didn't they? Oh, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. They lost by 10. They were getting 5.5.
Come on, that's terrible.
Listen.
Can't win on the road, Mick Cronin.
Tanji, and listen, there's a lot of people hot on this kid. Yeah, maybe he'll also shoot 90% from the field, 6 of 6 from 3 again. I think it's a Sparty party because I think Wisconsin just played the best game of their season, and I just don't think that happens again against the Michigan State team who's definitely better defensively, and I think is in line for a better offensive game. I think Michigan State rolls.
Well, you talk about Michigan State. They've won 8 straight games by 10.2 points per game. They held Oregon to 21% from three-point range. And I agree with you, just on paper, it looks like Michigan State should dominate this matchup. But for me, I'm going with Tanjay. I don't know if he shoots 9 or 10 from the field.
Yeah, maybe
again
100% from the field.
I just think that Wisconsin's a little bit better from three-point land than Oregon was. I think they'll be a little bit more consistent, Coach. I think there's a lower scoring game, but I'm going to take the 3.5 with Wisconsin. I think they can win this game outright.
See, when you have a team that goes and they're that hot, and you play the next day, things tend to average themselves out. So to me, I'm looking at Michigan State minus the points. I wouldn't be surprised if they win this game by 8 to 10 points. I look at this team of Michigan State. They have been hot. Now, we've talked about it. They haven't played that rough game yet where they've kind of struggled. But it's that time of year, and me seeing this guy Izzo for the last 25 years knows that You know, I look at teams and coaches that always have that extra trick up their sleeve, and it's hard to prep. 0-day prep. Now, you do stretch out and you look at not only the team you're playing, but the next two teams in the next round. But Izzo, to me, is one of these guys, when he gets in these spots, he's always one step ahead of everyone else. I think Wisconsin comes back to the pack. I think Michigan State plays really well. Give me Michigan State minus the points today.
All right, so some love as well for Coach on Sparty. Let's not waste time, because I think we've got an awesome one between Maryland and Michigan as well here. The Terps up to now a 4.5-point favorite in this game. Total 150.5. Maryland, with that really short number against Illinois, jumped them, cracked them from the word go. Michigan was viewed as the vulnerable double-bye team. They make good on it and win outright against Purdue, who is reeling right now. I have a Final Four ticket that said, I wish I never took that Purdue thing. I don't even want it, even if they make the Final Four at this point, with the way the Boilermakers are playing. But Michigan now, off of their best win of the season, I mean, in forever, now try and get the Terps here to advance to the finals. How do you see it, Lisi?
Well, originally I thought that, Michigan would be the right side. Prior to the victory last night, they had lost 3 straight by an average margin of defeat of 14.3 points per game. They did get it right. They shot 51% from the field and basically shot lights out, held Purdue last night to 33% in terms of field goal percentage, played defense. They out-rebounded, very physical, and now they're catching basically 2.5 on the road. But Maryland has won 4 straight. They've won those games by an average margin of victory of 11.3 points per game. I just believe that Maryland's just a little bit more complete. Seeing the line, 2.5, 3 points, you're back in Michigan. You're hoping for back-to-back performances.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. It's not a game I'm going to be betting, Kev, but I would lean to laying the points with Maryland.
It's a big man party. This is the game I'm excited about. When you think about Wolf and Golden and Queen and Reese, this is a big man party. So if it's a big man party, and I'm not on either side, to me, I think this gets into a half-court game.
Okay.
And which big man duo, guys, is the one that dominates down low? And that's why I think this matchup is intriguing. Like, the line, I think, is at 149.5, the over-under. They played to 136 in the regular season. So this game should come down to big man play. Who controls the boards, who is able to score, but more importantly, which big man duo gets into foul trouble. Kev, I think this is a half-court contest.
Look, books agree with you, right? That total you mentioned the prior meeting, while it finished with 136, the total was 156.5. So that's a big drop-off, obviously, game over game. It's not as if there's been all that much distance. What stands out to me from that meeting, Danny Wolf and Golden were 17 of 30 from the floor. That's great, right? They only scored 65 points. So, again, it's two school of thoughts. Either you only scored 65 with your bigs playing that well, you're in for some trouble, or the Wolf-Golden combination gives Queen and Reese some struggles, and if the others around those two can step up, Michigan's offense will get going. I lean towards the latter. I don't know if they can stop the Terps, but I don't think that Queen nor Reese are at their best on the defensive side of the basketball. So I think that the Wolf-Golden combination coach can continue to have success, and the others then can hopefully knock a couple of 3 downs. I likely play a team total on the Wolverines here.
Right, because you're looking at the fact that you may either get foul trouble by Queen and Reese, or you get guys that are just young and not strong defensively. That's a good way to go. Play inside out, try to get foul trouble, open up 3 points. Maybe look at 3-point props for Michigan if that's what you're looking at.
All right, up next, we have games in less than 10 minutes. Bryant, Maine, Princeton, and Yale. The Ivy. Lisi owns the Ivy League, he tells me. We'll talk about that next. It's BATR on SportsGrid.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you're giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh, yeah, I think we've been there. We're going to have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway has been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos stuff.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I mean, this is what it is all about. 11 a.m. tips, a wake and wager, as they call it. And we will be going to all of your off-the-beaten-path games today. Lisi, very hot. In the, what is it, the A10?
The A10, yes, the A10. But I feel like I can't bet one of these games in the Ivy, but if I could, I would.
That is the one struggle with some of these spots, but we want to, we don't want to do a disservice to the people and ignore. So we'll do both Ivy games here. Let's start quickly in the America East Final. It's Bryant and Maine. Bryant is home for this game. Some of these lower conferences, you'll have a team host their championship game. That is what you have here with Bryant hosting Maine. The Bulldogs versus the Black Bears. Coach, anything jump out to you for this one?
Yeah, the fact that Raphael, I think it's Pinzon, is going to play, according to John Rothstein, 19 points per game last time out versus Maine, 28 points, 9 of 20 from the floor. This guy is an absolute bucket machine. So to me, where you look at it, maybe you look at the team total over for Bryant, obviously being at home, confines of their own gym. That I do believe that's Phil, I'm not mistaken, that's Phil Martelli's son that is the head coach at Bryant, took over for Jared Grasso, Iona assistant, once he got left go. There you go. Got to give Kate up his little Iona reference there. But you look at a team like that, should be able to score. Team total over 75.5 points. That may be the play. I do like Bryant to get it done today.
I like the under. I think it's going to be more of a half-court game just because you talk about Bryant being on their home floor. You have two hot teams. Bryant's won 5 straight by 13.4 points per game. On the flip side, Maine has won 3 straight by an average margin of victory of 8.4 points per game. Going on the road, I'll take the 7.5 with the Bears in this matchup, but I think a lower scoring game, so I'm going under the 142.5 because I think it's more half court. Let's steal it to the last 5 or 6 minutes.
And coaches, you mentioned Pinzon. He had a little bit of an injury earlier in the year as well. The first time he played Maine, you might say, he didn't do a lot. Off the bench, only played 20 minutes. That second meeting, you saw the 39 minutes more important than anything. Getting your leading scorer out there. Bryant's going to play until the very end. I want to get over to the Ivy here because you do have a game tipping off in just a couple of moments. Lisi, we can't get involved here in Jersey, but for those who can, how are you betting Yale? 7.5-point favorite against Princeton with a total of 144.5.
I think it's an absolute smash. Yale has won 14 of the last 15 games. They beat Princeton 2 times by an average margin of victory, Kev, of 17 points per game. Princeton has lost 4 of the last 7 games. And, oh, by the way, they beat up on Penn, who's basically 8-19 in the Ivy League. Just smash, sledgehammer special. Lay the 7.5 with Yale. I think they win it by double digits, Coach.
See? Ready? This is my guy. I love him to death. I'm going the other way.
Whoa.
I'm gonna take the points. Yes, they're the number 1 seed, but remember, folks, the Ivy League do not play games on neutrals. I mean, at home arenas. This is a neutral site game. This is at Brown. I think 7.5. Mitch Henderson's team, Princeton offense, slow the game down. Remember, they went and beat Rutgers, but how bad was Rutgers this year? But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the points with Princeton. I think that Princeton offense will slow the game down. I do think Yale wins and Coach Jones gets the win. I just don't think they cover the spread.
I will say this one is one of those games that I treated like every Rutgers football game on college football today. Can't bet it, leave me alone, don't care. Cornell, Dartmouth, a little different, though. Both of these teams, right up and down the court they go. I prefer the Dartmouth team total, though, in this matchup. If Cornell gets to 100, great. We're going to get over the Big Green team total in this game. Dartmouth is a little bit better defensively. I think it's more realistic that they could actually slow down Cornell in this matchup. If they don't, again, that's fine. I don't want to take the side. I don't want to take the full over. I want to take a Dartmouth team total in this game. Anything jump out here for either of you?
Well, I would take Dartmouth with the points just because Cornell has won 4 straight. But you look at Dartmouth, they did split during the regular season with Cornell, so they did get one victory under their belt. I would take the points. Anytime you have a semifinal or a championship game, you have a team that at least won in the regular season, I'm willing to take those points, Coach.
I'm going to go with the team total over for Cornell. 100, 102, 90, 85. Yikes. Team total 81.5. I think they get out and they run. They're going to do what they do.
We are going to come up against the break here. Don't forget, we've got Bryant, Maine, and Yale Princeton starting right now. Boys in the back special. Bryant first half team total 35.5. Just wanted to keep people abreast of everything going on there. Let's talk about who is already in this tournament. Could we have some teams that are going to look to make noise? And those bubble teams, who's in and who's out? That's next right here on SportsGrid.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you're giving like the Any Given Sunday inches Al Pacino speech. Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's getting this thing out of foul trouble. Clifford Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the 4th number 1 seed.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, 2nd overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Just rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.